welcome to our interview. Today I want to take a few minutes and talk with Shannon Glenn, who is a sleep sense consultant from the Boise area, and she's been in our program now for a good 2 years, 2+, and she's going to share some of her rewards and challenges with this sort of career. So welcome, Shannon. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Excellent. Well, why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about why you decided to become a certified sleep sense consultant in the first place?
Well, sleep has kind of always been something that I have been passionate about. However, it became something I became more passionate about 7 years ago. My daughter was born, and lo and behold, she did not sleep well. And I have a pretty extensive background in early childhood development. Have done a lot of parent counseling, so I really never thought sleeping would be something that I would struggle with my daughter, but I did. And so that would be what led me to you. And I found you, and your expert advice helped me get my daughter sleeping well. So then fast forward a couple of years later, when you presented the opportunity, it just made sense. It felt like a really good fit and something that would work really, really well for me and allow me to have a career and own my own business, which is something that I've actually always done in one capacity or another, and allow me to be home with my kids too.
That's awesome. So a lot of people, when they're thinking about joining, there's a lot of either obstacles or challenges or hesitations around joining. Would you mind sharing maybe a few of your hesitations before you decided to take the plunge and join our program?
Yeah, well, initially there was a few things. The very first time I I feel like I'm a really open-minded person, and so I'm always really interested in listening to anything new that could be coming across. But obviously, initially it was the investment, and then the travel to leave my family, and of course my children were very young when I joined, so that meant finding someone to take care of them while I was gone. So there was a lot of logistics, I guess I would say, in regards to being there. And then, of course, the biggest thing was the financial investment, just wanting to make sure that it would be something that I could continue long term and, of course, not only recoup my investment, but make a profit from. And so that was sort of initially what I looked at it as. And believe it or not, my husband was my biggest cheerleader and was like, just erase all of that, and if none of that was there, would you do this? And I said, yeah, I would. And he said, okay, then we'll figure the rest of it out. And so that was kind of what happened, and we didn't look back. And it was by far the best decision I've ever made.
Oh, that's so good to hear. And it's interesting. I just did a survey of our recent class just to get a feel for their partner's perspective. And I said, how many people's partner was the one that really helped them make this decision or push them into it? And almost everyone put their hand up saying, my husband said go for it. And I think that's really important to have that support, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, and especially with this business, because a lot of the time when I'm seeing clients, if I'm to a point now where I do most of my work during the day, but there is sometimes when I need a client needs to be seen on the evening or weekend, and so my husband needs to be able to support me with that. So yeah, it was really, really important for me that he was on board.
That's great. And so tell us a little bit about your favorite parts of the job.
Well, believe it or not, I actually like that it's really multifaceted. In that I don't just do one thing, because for my personality that works really well. I'm able to. I've really began to enjoy the marketing. Initially, it was a little bit overwhelming, primarily just because I don't have a ton of education or experience in that. I knew the one-on-one client work wouldn't be challenging for me because I've done that a lot. But the marketing was definitely a jump up for me, but I really, really enjoy it. And what I like the most is just the flexibility of how things change. I can be, pretty involved in client work if I have a decent amount of clients I'm working with, and then when things kind of quiet down, as they do in this business, it's ups and downs. And initially that kind of felt overwhelming to me, but now I really like that, because in the times when I'm a little bit quieter, then I can focus more on my marketing and my newsletters and my blogs, and I really enjoy those parts of it.
That's great. And if you had to remember back to your record, do you have like your record for clients in a week or clients in a month?
So I try to go on a weekly bit. Well, I go on a weekly and a monthly. So usually, like how many the most I've seen.
Right.
Um, yeah, I saw 8 in 1 week, and that was a little too much.
Right.
And it was really kind of by accident. It was actually right after the convention, and I had to put people on hold for that week while I was gone. And so what I have definitely found in this business is that when they call you for help, they needed you like last month.
Hmm.
So when they want to get started, I've had a few that are willing to wait, but most of them don't want to be. Most clients don't want to be put off too long. So I did see 8 in 1 week, which was a lot, but I mean we got through it and it worked.
And what do you shoot for? Where's your comfort spot as far as clients go?
Yeah, between 2 and 4 a week, 2 and 4 new clients a week is what's comfortable for me. Then that way, at this point in time, if I was to do more than that, it would probably be more full time. But between 2 and 4 works well, where I feel like I can do everything I need to do.
Yeah, that's about right. That sounds good. Mine was always four, but I was taking it as a full-time position, so
Right.
four
And
as well.
in a year from now, when my son goes to school full time, that is what I'll be going for too. And then I'll
Right.
have a whole day to do it, and then I will up what I want to do for sure.
That's great. And so on the other side of the coin, what are some of the challenges that you've encountered?
Um, I would say being able to time management, making sure that you give yourself enough time to get done what you can, not biting off more than you can chew, which I mean I know is a good problem to have. However, there have been a couple of times where I have been like, whoa, my plate is really full, and then really making sure, like in client, like and then the next probably biggest challenge I would say is just in the client work sometimes. Sometimes it can be stressful situations with some
Hmm.
moms, and some of them are experiencing some postpartum depression due to their lack of sleep, and so that is something I'm pretty comfortable dealing with, but that is definitely something that can add a little bit more stress to the situation when that's happening, for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, for some of our clients, this is really the hardest thing they've ever had to do. So to
Yeah.
support them through that and walk them through it can be challenging at times. You're right.
Yeah, yeah, and I always, I mean, I've been doing this a while now that I'm, getting, initially when I had a mom that got a little emotional, I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? But I mean, you have to remember they're tired, and I'm like, when I'm tired, I'm super emotional, and these moms have been tired for a really long time. So they need help, and I'm not typically anybody's first phone call. Usually they've tried a couple things on their own, so by the time they get to me, a lot of moms feel kind of at their wits' end.
Absolutely. And so where do you find you get your best source of clients? What's your sort of favorite form of advertising?
Well, I love the newsletter, and as a matter of fact, anytime I'm quiet, that's the first thing I do, and it generates business every time. And so that is probably the one area that I'm not able to stay up on top of every 2 weeks like I would like. Sometimes it can be monthly just based on my busyness, but it always seems to be a perfect fit. And so, like marketing wise, I feel like that has been the best use of my time. I've done some things locally here with newspapers, and I've had articles written about me. And while that has generated, just clout, I guess, or credentials, it's not really ever directly lined me to business. I actually also do a morning show here in town. Once a month, I go on their Good Morning show and do like a little 5-minute interview about a sleep tip that I give. And again, that's fun, but it doesn't really generate direct business.
Right. And then,
Yeah.
of course, there's always my favorite, which is word of mouth, which I'm sure
Yes.
you get a lot of.
Well, as a matter of fact, I was just sharing this with another woman who was considering becoming a potential consultant, and at this point, about 50 to 75% of my business is referral. So it takes a little bit of time because, of course, you've got to build up that clientele and have seen some people. But I get referred from people that I saw when I first started. Matter of fact, I just got one yesterday from a woman that I saw 2.5 years ago. So yeah, that's my biggest place that I find clients for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's by far hands down the best.
It is, yeah, yeah. And then they're already, you don't even have to talk them into it. They already want to hire you because you helped their friend. So
That's
that
right.
works nice.
That's right. And so overall, what were some of, or what are some of the things that you find the best bits of the training program?
Well, I really think having it in person is really, really powerful. I think there is so much more that you can gain from being there physically as opposed to something via the internet. So I think that is something that's really important. And I also think the relationships that you build with the other consultants that are there. A couple of the consultants that were in my training group, I talk to on a weekly basis. And we talk to each other, we bounce ideas off each other. So that's been really, really helpful for me. And I think they would say the same thing too. And then as for the way that you laid it out, I feel like you have a nice way of having obviously the important stuff in working with the clients, but also marketing yourself and really making this a business and running it like one. Because while we may have all joined this to help people and share our love of sleep, at the end of the day, it's a business, and we want it to be successful. And I feel like you are really helpful in supporting that part of it too.
That's great. Yeah, I really do try because, like you said, and most of the consultants that have joined, marketing isn't everybody's strong suit. And I learned sort of the hard way that when you start your own business, marketing becomes, probably 50% of your
Yep.
efforts.
No
And
question. Yeah.
so if I don't give people those tools, I feel like they're just sort of setting themselves up for failure. So I'm glad to hear that because I do take that very seriously.
Yeah, and it is something that I think every time I even talk to a new consultant, I can see that that's something that they're realizing too, is that that's sort of where you need to start. And for me, that was kind of fun, like I said before, because I didn't really have a lot of experience with that in the first year or so. I probably spent more time marketing than I did actually seeing clients. But then it paid off because the next year I was substantially more busy.
Yeah. And you've found, I think you've shared with me before, that each year your business has grown quite significantly.
It has. Yeah, it's about doubled every year.
That's great.
Which was great because the first year I needed it to be quiet, a little bit quieter, I should say, just so I could figure out what I was doing and still take care of my really young children. So it's kind of grown with me, which has been great. I've really enjoyed that, and I would assume that that's because of the more time I have
Hmm.
available, the more time I'm putting into it, and that really is the truth. The more time you put into it, the better your business is going to be, the more clients you're going to see, without a doubt. I
Yeah.
remember the one thing you said to me, and I don't even think it might have been like in a mentoring call in like the very first year, I think it was, before we were actually even like on the ground seeing clients, was to make sure to have marketing be a focus at least once a week, like that you just did some kind of marketing piece. And that's been something that I've really, really stuck to try to make sure I'm doing some kind of marketing piece, something each week, and that it really helps just to continue to generate more clients.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear. I'm glad
Yeah,
to hear that you've listened to some of the things and that your business has been so successful. It's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Uh, so I don't want to keep you from your weekend any longer. I want to thank you for being here today and sharing your insights around this business. And thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thanks. Look forward to seeing you in Florida.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
Okay.
Thanks,
Take care.
thanks, Shannon. Bye bye now.
Bye bye.